All right, guys. So we are fixing to do another light versus heavy test. Also a quiet or loud test, a noise test, whatever you want to call it. So first up, we got my arrows that I constantly shoot. These are 394 grains, and then I have the heavyweight arrows, some Ted Nugent specials or whatever you want to call them. Both are drunk fletched with blazers, so that's equal. The difference between these two is this one weighs 522 grains, and this one weighs 394. Shooting them out of the same bow, PSE Omen, 70 pounds, 31.5 inch draw length. So we're gonna do this inside right now. We'll probably do outside later, but frankly, inside is louder. So let's do it. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to shoot right here at the camera with the bow like 18 inches away from the camera, and then I'll move you down there and have you downrange, and we'll see what it looks like from that angle and sounds like, more importantly. And y'all tell me in the comments, which did y'all think was quieter, the heavy arrow or the light arrow, or could you not tell a difference? All right, let's go down range and set the camera up down there now as well. All right, guys, so we are now down range. Just got done shooting the ones from where I'll be shooting at. Now let's shoot with you standing down range. That's kind of more important to know what it sounds like down here than it does at the bow, because your deer would be down here. So let's do it. Let's do it here. So, there we go. Y'all let me know in the comments. What y'all think was louder? The heavy arrow that weighs 522 grains or the lightweight arrow that weighs 394? Tell you what, behind the bow, I couldn't really tell much of a difference between the two. So I'm interested to see what this looks like in editing. All right, so this is Dad shooting now with a 60-pound bow at what draw length?
27 and a half and 63 pounds.
He's going to shoot my arrows, so the same weight as before, because his are fletched with heat vanes, and we did a test a second ago and noticed that the heat vanes are quieter than blazers. So starting with light. My arrows are so freaking comically long on you. Mm-hmm. All right, now we're going to do it with the camera downrange. It's on a tripod, so nobody's holding it, with Dad's bow. So guys, here's what we got on that. So y'all tell us in the comments on that one which one you thought was better. Well, so we kind of forgot to do the discussion part of it and what we kind of got out of that test. We forgot to do that yesterday, so now we're here the next day, and we're going to talk about what we kind of got out of that test. I mean, Dad, was you able to tell hardly a difference on anything?
I could not tell if you're talking about the same fletchings to the same fletchings. We did notice a difference, and that's why I shot more arrows in the test of heat versus blazers.
Yeah, the blazers were definitely sounded louder whenever we did a test. That we tried to do a test as well, but that didn't come across on the video very well at all, with us standing in the bathroom, so we was safe, and the other guy shooting arrows down the hallway past us there and not looking to see what arrow they were shooting, see if we could guess which one was the louder. And Couldn't do it whenever it was Blazers versus Blazers, but man, those heat vanes were quiet and them Blazers were loud.
Yeah, and that was even with the Blazers being on the heavy arrow versus
Yeah.
my light arrows.
Yeah, how much do those arrows weigh?
Like 315 grains.
Yeah, versus
and
a
traveling
522, so literally 200 grains heavier.
I mean, myself personally, because yes, there's going to be people saying y'all are trying to fight against something that's already been proven.
Mm-hmm.
I think when they have proven that a heavier arrow is quieter, it has to be that they're reading it with a decimal meter.
Yeah.
And when we're talking about decimals versus an actual human ear change, that's not enough. When a deer or other game animal hear so much better than we do,
Mm-hmm.
you would have to have a dramatic difference, such as, for example, of the bow itself going off. You can take a 90s model bow, an early 90s or a late 90s bow, even into early 2000s, compare it to today's bow, and downrange you can hear a difference in the bow going off.
Yeah, and I think that's really what we was testing. And I've had some guys, whenever we was doing this live, had a guy mention that, oh, now I've done this testing with my trad bow, and yeah, it really does make a difference. And with older equipment, like traditional equipment, no, I could really see it making a difference. But the modern technology has made bows so much quieter, so much more efficient, that as long as you're not going below safe levels, aka IBO,
right?
As long as you're not going below 5 grains per pound, then I don't really think that there's enough there to matter to a deer downrange. If the deer is going to duck, he would have ducked at either one of those arrows, because
Yes.
that deer was already alert and looking at you, and that deer is going to duck no matter what equipment you're shooting at that point.
Right, because okay, when you're talking about the sound of the arrow, sure, we've quietened down the bow thump itself, but people are still having deer jump the string. And so I've said for a while now, and now that's where your technology is going, is into how to make a vane quieter.
Like the Super Sabers.
Yeah.
The Super Sabers, I've tested, every test I've had the Super Sabers on, they have won. I won't say dramatically, but noticeably. They were noticeably quieter. There was a noticeably quieter hum going down range. Now, there was still a hum, but it was noticeably quieter than Blazers, than the Super Stealth that I shot them against versus Feathers. Everything's 1,000 times quieter than a 5-inch Feather, is what I learned. Especially at our speeds that we're shooting.
Right, and that's the thing, is that, sure, absolutely, technology has to take little bitty steps.
Mm-hmm.
And so it gets to where it does eventually cause a dramatic difference.
Mm-hmm.
But right off the bat, if you're talking about just the weight of the arrow, when you're talking about the same fletching to same fletching, and then just one heavy arrow and one, as people have said, super light arrows that you and I shoot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if you're talking about a sound difference, the deer is not ducking. If you'll think of it this way, we used to always think they were just ducking the thump of the arrow, of the bow. Well, now
that's what your heavy arrow would lessen, was the thump of the bow, because it was being able to put more energy into the arrow. And now you don't have that anymore.
Not as much. I mean, because you definitely hear the vanes.
Yeah.
A whole lot more. And so I tell people, I said, okay, the deer is ducking the same thing and knows what direction it's coming from, the same as you know which ear that mosquito or fly that's bugging the crap out of you
Mm-hmm.
is buzzing around you, or you know which way to semi-dodge when it's a honeybee that's right around your head and your ears. And that's what that deer is ducking and spinning away from, is the buzz of those fletchings. I can guarantee you, just from what you heard with my arrows, if we put heat and or something else, just like the ones you took, the Super Sabers, you would be willing to give up speed. At my short draw length, I wouldn't. You would be able to give up speed to get the quieter sound,
Mm-hmm.
because you know that might make a difference.
Yeah, especially at a long range shot, because at 60 yards, if I can get it to where I know that as long as the deer's not alert, it's not going to hear my bow coming. Well, now taking that 50, 60-yard shot might not be as unethical as I feel it is currently. Because we and you both agree 40 yards is really just the furthest you should shoot because the animal can move. And if the deer's not hearing anything coming, and I know it's feeding and it's not going to likely take that next step, then maybe taking that further shot would be more okay. But there is still that chance of, at that distance, that it just takes a natural step because it's feeding.
Yeah.
And that changes
That-
everything. But I could see it being more feasible simply because, hey, he's not going to now duck because he heard my arrow coming.
Right. Especially if and when they can ever find technology that makes it silent.
Mhm.
But the fact of the matter is, I mean, that's the other thing I noticed when you did some of your other tests where that you shot different size veins for, shooting at the phone down there, different size veins, different type veins for a sound test. You really couldn't tell much of a difference up close, but if you did the longer range, okay, some people would say that the Super Savers or whatever, that they could tell that it was quieter, and if it's on the same arrow. But when you did that same test and did it with heavy veins or heavy arrows and light arrows, the only thing I noticed is that you heard
the hum come longer.
So therefore the same as what my concept is every millisecond counts, is that if it's noticeable for my human ear to go, I heard that a longer period of time, then that means that the animal has a faster or a longer amount of time to react.
So basically, what we both kind of came to the conclusion to, from what we could hear with our own ears, and then after going through the editing on the phone there, couldn't really tell much of a difference. Not enough to matter.
We could not sit there. If it's going to be enough to matter, then somebody should be able to listen to our test, and they should be able to tell us with, let's say, 80% accuracy.
Because if it's just 50%, they're getting lucky because there's only two choices.
Right. And so if there's 4 arrows there, they have basically a 75% chance of getting the right answer by guessing. But the fact of the matter is, if they do that 10 groups in a row, so you're talking 40 arrows.
You
down
said that backwards, by the way. It's 25% chance.
25% chance. 75% chance of being wrong. And so they got a 25% chance of getting it right. But the fact of the matter is, if it's going to be that they can actually hear a difference, then out of 40 arrows going down range of them, they should be able to tell you almost, I'll say between 80 and 90% of the time, that one was heavier.
That was the heavier. It was quieter.
Or
the other way around. That was the light arrow. That was significant. And that thump was significantly louder.
And so I think you need to do some random testing on all of your social media, that we don't give the answer to it.
Yeah.
That you shoot 4 arrows. As we found, we can't hide in the bathroom because the
microphone wasn't picking it up. Now that also we will probably be able to improve over time and redo all of these tests in future years whenever I get better equipment and have an actual microphone, not just what comes on a phone.
Sure.
Comes standard on a phone.
Sure. And and maybe we can do that with boom mics and whatever that away. Get out my old camera, my handy cam, put the boom mic on it and everything. And maybe we can begin to see a difference. But no, right now, I don't think shooting a heavier arrow makes a difference in the sound of what the deer hears.
Yeah. Well, there we go.